A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I have 4 questions for you to keep mindful in this lesson today. Question number 1. Mention the main event in the Caliphate of Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu. Number 2. Explain the election of Caliph of Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu. Number 3. Explain in detail about the policy followed by Hazrat Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu as a Caliph in expanding and maintaining the state. And number 4. Outline the charges leveled against Hazrat Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu by the opponent and describe the main events of the revolt against him. All these questions you can find the answer in our recorded lesson today. Let's check it out. Okay, let's start our lesson by reciting the dua together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma ftah lana hikmataka wansur alayna min khazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma nawwir qalbi binuri hidayatika kama nawwartal arda binuri syamsika abadan abada birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbi zidni ilman warzuqni fahman wa amalan salihan mutaqabbalan. Amin amin ya mujibas sa'il. The special learning objective of this lesson is that in the end of the lesson, you are expected to be able to answer all the questions that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Okay, number 1 is the main events in the Caliphate of Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu. There are 5 main events. Number 1, the election of Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu as Caliph. Number 2, the expansion. Number 3, his services and the administration. And number 4 is the difficulties faced by Uthman ibn Affan. And the fifth is his martyrdom. And now let's talk about the election of Caliph of Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu. Umar radhiyallahu anhu, before he passed away, he nominated Ali radhiyallahu anhu, Talha radhiyallahu anhu, Zubair radhiyallahu anhu, Uthman himself radhiyallahu anhu, Abdurrahman bin Auf, and Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas radhiyallahu anhum. All were one of the 10 blessed companions. Umar radhiyallahu anhu's choice actually was Abdurrahman bin Auf, but in that time he was not willing to shoulder the responsibility to be a caliph. And Talha radhiyallahu anhu in that time was not in Medina, so the choice was now restricted to the remaining 4. It was decided that as Abdurrahman bin Auf had stepped down, therefore he should choose the next caliph. He consulted each one individually. Ali radiallahu anhu chose Uthman, and Uthman radiallahu anhu chose Ali. Sa'ad radiallahu anhu supported Uthman, while Zubair radiallahu anhu mentioned both Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhuma. He asked the opinion of other prominent men as well and came to the conclusion that the majority favored Uthman ibn Affan radhiyallahu anhu. Abdurrahman bin Auf first took the pledge of allegiance and then followed by Ali radhiyallahu anhu and the other companions, and then there was a general pledge. So Uthman ibn Affan became the 3rd caliph on the 4th of Muharram 24 after Hijrah. Now we are talking about the detail about the policy followed by Uthman ibn Affan as caliph in expanding and maintaining the state. The first one is expansion of the state in Uthman radiallahu anhu's time. Number one, revolt in Alexandria. Alexandria is a city in Egypt in 25 after Hijrah as an uprising. Heraclius, the Caesar of Imperium of the Rome or the Byzantine, sent an army from Constantine by the sea. Amr bin As radiallahu anhu defeated these forces. And number two, there was a revolt in Azerbaijan and Armenia. Azerbaijan and Armenia were conquered in Umar's time, but was lost. Walid bin Aqaba appointed as the governor in Azerbaijan and Armenia, and he, with the help of Salman bin Rabi'a, crushed the revolt. And number three, the conquest of North Africa. Tripolis governor, now in Libya, his name was Jarjir, came in with 120,000 men. Muslims won Tripoli after Abdullah bin Zubair radiallahu anhu was sent with some reinforcement from Medina, 25,000 yearly jizya. After Tripoli, Muslim conquered Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria. And number four, the conquest of Cyprus, Muawiyah's fleet of ships. Abdullah bin Sarrah radallahu joined him, 7,000 yearly jizya, military base for Muslims after it was won. Okay, number five, the revolt of Iran or Persia in the time. In Umar's bin Khattab's era, Yazdigerd fled to Turkestan, tried to create uprising in Iran, and Abdullah bin Amir radiallahu anhu marched and won it. And number six, conquest of Tabaristan. Sa'id bin al-As radiallahu anhu appointed to be the governor. People rose in revolt, and Sa'id radiallahu anhu reconquered it. Number six, the conquest of Tabaristan. Sa'id bin al-As appointed as the governor there. People rose in revolt, and Sa'id radiallahu anhu reconquered it. Number seven, conquest of Khurasan, Takharistan, Sistan, and Kabul. Abdullah bin Amir radiallahu anhu, Sa'id bin al-As marched to Khurasan and conquered it. They besieged the city of Nisapur for a month, after which Marzaban, the governor of Nisapur, made a truce. Yazdigerd was killed, and Takharistan, Kirman, Sistan were conquered. They also reached the borders of India. And number eight, the Battle of Mas, or Punic, now known as Phoenix. Naval battle with the Byzantine, 500 fleets of ships versus 200 Muslim fleet. Muslims won, and Muslim sea power was recognized. Now we are talking about the maintaining the state. It is about the services by Uthman radiallahu anhu. And the first one is the religious services. In religious services, there are many things that he done very well. Number one is standardization of Quran, compilation, and then second, call for the prayer in Jumu'ah. You know, there are two azans in Jumu'ah. Yes, it was first time by Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. And then he provided good stipends to muazzin, and he increased daily allowance of people during Ramadan. Also, he extended Masjid Nabawi 140 to 160 yards length and 120 to 150 yards in width. He rebuilt the stones and limestones, and the simplicity maintained. And there was also free meals to all concerned at the time of breaking of fasting in the month of Ramadan. And what about the other field of life? Number two is the economic policies. He increased the stipend of people by 25%. In public, in Medina, a number of wells were dug to provide drinking water. The water supply to Makkah was improved. Water was brought to Kufa and Basra through canals. You can imagine Basra and Kufa were or now in Iraq, very far. But in that time, Caliph of Uthman ibn Affan has created the canals to flow the water. And the rest houses on various highways, guest houses were constructed in various cities like Kufa. Roads leading to Medina were built very well. And what about the administration? Okay, the administration conducted by Uthman ibn Affan was lenient by nature and did not suffer executive administration of Umar radiallahu anhu. In that time, there were 12 provinces and 100 districts. Majlis Shura, or advisory council, were conducted, and the leader of this council were Ali radiallahu anhu and Talha and also Zubair radiallahu anhuma. You know, every Friday there was hearing of general complaint of public. Also, Caliph of Uthman ibn Affan was accessible at Hajj. Lower and Upper Egypt was united as one province, and similarly, Syria, divided into two provinces, was united into one province. So in Uthman's time, there were 12 provinces. They were Medina, Makkah, Yemen, Kufa, Basra, Jazira, Fars, Azerbaijan, Khorasan, Syria, Egypt, and North Africa. Now we are talking about the charges leveled against Uthman radiallahu anhu by his opponent and describe the main events of the revolts against him. The difficulties that he faces. What was it? During the last year of his caliphate, he faced serious. Now we are talking about the charges leveled against Uthman radiallahu anhu by his opponent and the main events of the revolts against him. Number one is the difficulties that he faced. During the last years of his caliphate, he faced serious difficulties that eventually led to his martyrdom in 35 after Hijrah. He was a very gentle and soft-hearted person. The people who wanted to create chaos among Muslims took advantage of his soft nature, while Umar radiallahu anhu was a very strict administrator, whereas Uthman used to overlook the minor fault of the appointed Amil, provincial head, as well as the new converts. Abdullah bin Sabah. Remember this person. Abdullah bin Sabah. He was a Yemenite Jew who outwardly accepted Islam, started creating dissatisfaction among the Muslims. He and his followers established their headquarters in Egypt and began to circulate fake letters and complaints against the Caliph. And now we talk about the charge against him. One of the main allegations against him was that he had appointed his Evian relative as governor. You know, there were 12 provinces in the country, and he appointed 4 from his relative in Egypt, in Syria, in Kufa and in Basra. Who were they? In Syria, he appointed Amir Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, and the reason that he was appointed by Umar. In Egypt, he appointed Abdullah ibn Sa'ad. The reason was that he also appointed by Umar radiallahu anhu. And one of the relative was Walid bin Uqbah. He was the governor of Kufa. The reason was that Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas proved unsuccessful at the time. And number 4 was Abdullah bin Amr. He was appointed as the governor of Basra. And the reason for that Abu Musa al-Ash'ari was deposed at the demand of Basran people. Thus, none of the governors appointed by him proved a failure. We continue to the charges against him. He was also soft hand over governors. He's burning the copies of the Quran. He's spending on public treasury on relative that 25% raise in the salaries of the soldiers. The long forgotten rivalry between Banu Hashim and Banu Umayyah was highlighted. And the event of martyrdom that there was the uprising in Basra, Kufa, and Egypt. Uthman radiallahu anhu had pacified them, and they were on their way home when they got a hold of a letter seeking revenge. They returned and martyred him radiallahu. Okay, hopefully you can catch the answer of the question. Thank you very much for your full attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.